Senate projections that just have come out from 538. So I think this is definitely something that'll be cool. The Senate forecast has been out for a while. The JHK Senate forecast, we have the Democrats up at 65% and the Republicans at 34% right now. However, when we turn to the 538 forecast, we can see that the Democrats get control of the Senate in 58% of the scenarios, while Republicans win in 42% of scenarios. I briefly looked at this for a while, and the only thing that has surprised me so far is that they think that the closest rate will be in Maine between Sarah Gideon and Susan Collins. And one thing that I think is pretty interesting is how much that differs from what kind of the betting odds, and if we look at predicted, what they are saying there. So I think that it is pretty interesting that they have Maine as the closest rate. And then next up, I would say it's probably Iowa. They still think that Joni Ernst has an advantage here. One reason to comment on why I think that they're giving Susan Collins such a good chance is I think because if we look kind of back in time, Susan Collins has won in Maine, even while Democrats have won kind of on the presidential and House levels many times. And Susan Collins has only won by double digits. So I think that's why they have Susan Collins up so much. And we can even see, these are pretty realistic outcomes in the past because she has won by over 20 points in the past by double digits. And we can see here that just recently, they just released this model recently, but we can see that Susan Collins, has been leading a lot in the past, and only just recently has Sarah Gideon surpassed her. And I think it's because we've seen some polls, a Quinnipiac poll, which I think is definitely a little bullish on Gideon. But even while Gideon has been leading in all these polls, I would say that the Real Clear Politics average was about +5. The people at 538 still thought that Susan Collins was going to win. I don't really know what they're basing this on, because they're obviously basing it on more than just the polls. So I think that's definitely an interesting looking there. No surprises here that they think that Mark Kelly is up by a lot, by 6 points, which I think is frankly pretty realistic. The polls have been kind of all over the place here, but I think at aggregate, and this has been as constant as can be. So I think definitely we can trust it there. And the polls have the polls really have been all over the place. I was shocked by this Fox News poll. But yes, that is pretty interesting. Let's see. Georgie Boy says incumbents always win re-election. This is true. Martha McSally is not an incumbent. Susan Collins is. I think Susan Collins will definitely be helped out more by kind of her incumbency advantage. Let's just kind of roll over some of these other states. Kansas is okay, so they actually do have the characterization likely R, likely D. So I guess it's a toss-up if it's within 40 to 60, so that seems to make sense. Let's look at Montana. Montana leans to the Republicans, which I think makes sense. If we look at the polls, they've been pretty split, but recently we've seen in August that Daines is ahead. And I think that he'll be able to ride President Trump's coattails and be able to win the state, definitely. The state that I'm honestly most interested in is North Carolina. This is my home state, but I really think this is probably going to be one of the closest states. We can see consistently that Cunningham has been up, but we see here that Cal Cunningham has not been able to get really over 47%. So I think what this indicates is there are a lot of undecided voters. So I think that'll be something that we definitely want to look at in the future, because if we look at the presidential polls here and even the polls on the governor's level, we can see that Roy Cooper is getting above 50%. I think he's going to be pretty solidly keeping this. But I think the last poll that came out actually had Tillis, I think it might have been the CNN poll, had Tillis outperforming Trump. So I mean, I really don't know. I would expect Trump to outperform Tillis, but I mean, it's really hard to know here. In Alaska, like Republican state, I mean, in Texas, this just makes a lot of sense to me. I don't think Hager has been up in any of the polls. I mean, Texas is kind of supposed to be a swing state as we go forward. But yeah, so let's kind of see going on here. What are some other states that we think are pretty interesting? So Colorado is a lean Democratic state. This is very interesting to me because I would expect that with like John Hickenlooper, who's a presidential candidate, I feel like he was a very popular Democratic governor. It surprises me that this isn't even more favorable to Hickenlooper just because on the presidential level, Colorado is such a Democratic state. It's trending there a lot. What I've been kind of surprised is like how constant these lines have been, because this isn't the case on the presidential level, but I think it definitely makes more sense that on the Senate level, we see it being more constant. Let's see. Lindsey Graham is still projected to win here by a lot. They haven't really been affected by a lot of these polls. Let's see. So I mean, we've had some polls that are even, some with Lindsey Graham up, but I mean, Lindsey Graham is not getting above 50% of the vote. So I guess like I mean, I would expect this kind of narrow up maybe a little bit. One thing that I also think is pretty interesting is kind of comparing the predicted. Actually, you know what? We can just go here. So comparing this to the model, so I think one of the biggest differences is in the state of Maine. And this honestly might be reflective of the 5538 model just coming out. Let's see if we can see just like in the past hour if it's gone down. That's actually pretty interesting there. Let's kind of look at the Senate map and see if we can see any glaring differences. So the predicted map, I think the predicted map is a little bit more accurate in terms of Colorado, because they have it at 85, which is definitely similar to Arizona. Let's see some other states. So Kansas, I'm kind of surprised Kansas is this close because I really don't think Kansas is going to be that close at the end of the day. Iowa, so they have Maine is closer than Iowa and like North Carolina and Montana. Let's see what they have Michigan at. So they have Michigan not even as close as Arizona and Colorado, which is like pretty interesting. I think that what people kind of are expecting is that Michigan is going to be closer just because like President Trump's on the ballot, and maybe that John James is kind of an insurgent figure here. So they have 56-47. Just looking at the overall thing, so they have 42-58. And honestly, like I think what they project is like I'm kind of surprised that this middle one isn't as high up as it could be, just because like I feel like having a 50-50 split is like the most likely outcome, and I think that's why that the Democrats are favored, just because on the presidential level the vice president would break the tie there. So yeah, that's cool. And then we just kind of going over the real quick politics map. This is how they have it here. They have Arizona as a toss-up, which I think is very surprising. And they have see you later. And they have this all makes sense to me right here, except I don't think Arizona is going to be a toss-up. So one state that I've neglected to look at yet is the state of Georgia. So let's see the difference here. So right now, that's pretty interesting. They have Kelly Loeffler ahead of Doug Collins. And so this is the forecasted vote share on election night, which is a jungle primary. Oh, I guess we can't look at it right here. All right, guys. Well, I want to look at the chat some to kind of answer some of your questions about this Senate map. I think if Trump wins North Carolina by 2 3 point, then Tillis ekes out a win by 0.5 to 1.5 points. I do agree. I've said this in past videos. I think it's possible that like Trump just drags Tom Tillis across the finish line. I don't think Tillis is that popular, but I think just as polarized as we are, I definitely could see Tom Tillis pulling this out. And we do see here that it's getting closer. Right now, the projected vote total is within 2 points. And if we look at the presidential level at North Carolina, I actually want to look at that because I think for a while it's favored to Trump. It's kind of been going back and forth. I still think that Trump will win, but that's interesting. Let's go back to kind of the Senate model because that's what we're looking at right here. So 50 Democrat seats and 50 Republican seats is only at a, let's see, 11 plus like 4 is only at a 14 or 15 or 14% chance, which honestly really surprises me. Because I think that that's probably the most likely outcome. I mean, when we look at this map, I mean, there's only 2 states that are truly considered toss-ups. So I don't know why, like, because if we add up just kind of all of these, I mean, it's like double or triple what kind of the most likely outcome is, which is like 10. So let's see. As a Georgia resident, I can see John Ossoff beating Purdue. The special election seat will go Republican. I think it's definitely more likely that the special election goes towards the Republicans just because it's kind of the jungle primary and like they are kind of split. So we have Matt Lieberman and Raphael Warnock. I don't expect either of them to get above 50%. And if the actual election goes towards is in December and Donald Trump loses and Joe Biden wins, I think there'll be a lot of energy among the GOP to kind of win that seat. Let's see. I'm also in North Carolina. I recognize your accent. Yes, I am from North Carolina. And if I can get 50 people on this live stream, I think right now we have 10. I will tell you who I'm planning on voting for, but I kind of want to leave that a secret for now. And so let's like look over time. The Republicans' chances have improved marginally. So it was as great as like 64-36. So they have improved. And if we take this model out by kind of a lot before, then we'll see that it's a lot different. But what's pretty interesting is like while their chances are like 58-42, we can see that over time it really doesn't move as much. So it's still like 50-50 right now, which I think is looking like that. So let's see. Sort by margin. Okay, so this is actually pretty interesting right here. We can see that the incumbents, so the closest states right now are the top 6 states are held by Republicans, but we see that Alabama is probably going to flip. And it appears that this actually surprises me right here. That this is so close. I mean, there hasn't been a single poll that has Doug Jones close, and I guess we have some like Tuberville +3, but I mean, I know people in Alabama, and they definitely are not. Like I just there's no way. I just think that the 2017 special election between Roy Moore and I think it's going to be more skewed than this. I mean, President Trump is on the ballot, and I think like Alabama is different from South Carolina. I mean, Alabama, it's just crazy to me that let's see. So we can actually change what this modeling says. Oh, okay. So we can add the deluxe, which just based on the polls. Okay, so fundraising. So I actually this is really interesting. I really like that. So let's see kind of how the changes. So this is just the classic. What's the light? Wow, wow. So I guess what changes here? Where do we see the Democrats picking up a seat if we kind of change this model? I guess maybe in Iowa is what they're saying, and obviously the changes a lot. Like let's look at the classic, and so I think what they're looking at here is just like the past voting pattern. So let me look at the chats, and if y'all have any specific questions that you want answered, I would love for you to use the super chat feature. You look at the $ right under the chat, and that just really helps me out and supports my channel. So I'd really appreciate that, and also I will reach out to you individually if you send me a super chat, just to show my appreciation and also just answer your questions individually. So I'll give you my phone number there, or you can use my Venmo. My Venmo is on the screen. It's Ben W. Freeman. All right. There's a third-party candidate in South Carolina for the Constitution Party. Do you think he could potentially be a spoiler and cost the election for Graham? I really haven't seen on the Senate level kind of any third-party spoilers, because I think that in the Senate, kind of the two-party system is even more entrenched than the on the presidential level, and we can see that. Yeah. So who is this guy? I guess I think I saw him before, Bledsoe or something. Bill Bledsoe, the Constitution Party. I really don't think a lot of people take it seriously. That you're honestly the first person who's kind of brought it up to me. I've never even heard of that here, but that's pretty interesting. All right, I'm gonna take a quick little break, but stay on, and I'll be back in a little bit. Harrison? What up? Yeah. I'll probably be over in like 10 minutes. Alright, yeah, I'll just be over in like 10 minutes. Is that okay? Hey, I have some blue beans. I can bring that. Alright, bye. All right, guys. Sorry about that. I was just taking a little bit of a break here. If y'all have any kind of like last questions, I'll be happy to answer them here. And we'll kind of get. I really like this 538 model. I was waiting for them to kind of bring out their Senate model, because I think their presidential model is very interesting. But I think we can even see more movement with the presidential model. So it was all the way up to like 67-32, but now we can see, it's definitely going in Biden's advantage here. And I guess we can't change the like the model like we can with the Senate. So I kind of wish that on the presidential model that we could do that, but that's definitely okay. So what are y'all's opinions on this? I would love to kind of look at the chat, and maybe there's one state that I can focus on and kind of do a little thing. Keep up the good work. Looks like you enjoy it. Have fun. Thank you, Robert TV. Really appreciate it right there. All right, so I only have about like 5 viewers on right now, so I'm probably just going to end my stream pretty soon. But thank you all, and I'll see you later. What's up?